Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, whose value is about to skyrocket. 24/7 champion Gronk in the Bucs house, one of 3 tight ends, along with O.J. Howard and Cam Brate. Plus Ronald Jones, rookie Keyshawn Vaughn. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So there's an embarrassment of riches there in Tampa Bay. Marcus, what does this do now to Tom Brady? Is he a top 10 fantasy quarterback?
I say no, with the caveat that I have him ranked as 11. So, maybe? Look, I think what's going to be different for Brady this year versus last year is that he can be more efficient throwing the football. He threw the ball a lot last year, mostly because he didn't have wide receivers downfield that he felt like he could count on. Now, that's not an issue. He's got Chris Godwin. He's got Mike Evans. He's got 2 guys, or 1 guy, especially in Godwin, that's great after the catch, something he didn't have. So he won't have to throw the ball nearly as much, which means his yardage totals might be down. His touchdown totals might be down as well. But I still think he's a guy that you can get in the late rounds that can give you consistent production week after week.
Okay.
What a disrespectful ranking.
I know. It's so true. Are you gonna disrespect Gronk here? Is he a tight end 1? What are the realistic expectations here for him?
Yeah, we need to be a little bit realistic. Like, it's fun, as you mentioned. He's the 24/7 champion. I hope that Mike Evans pins him after a touchdown like that, or maybe El Generico or Shinsuke Nakamura emerges from the stands or something. But realistically, when you look at the number of players that are on this Tampa Bay Buccaneers roster, there are 3 tight ends who could catch touchdowns on that team currently, not to mention Mike Evans, not to mention Chris Godwin. They get near the goal line, maybe they'll run the ball here or there. So I think he's going to come in and have a huge impact. His biggest impact might be on the running game, so I would avoid him in fantasy.
Okay, what about, I feel like there's a lot of questions with Mike Evans. So at this point, Marcus, when should he come off the board?
Well, right now he's coming off the board in a lot of drafts right near the end of the 2nd round, and I think that's about right. I would say if I could wait till somewhere in the early part of the 3rd round, that's what I would do. My biggest fear with Mike Evans is part of what made him so effective is that you had Jameis Winston out there throwing YOLO balls, right? When everything broke down, let me just throw it up and see if 13 will come down with it. We know Tom Brady is going to be a little bit more efficient. On top of that, he just hasn't thrown the deep balls effectively over the last few years. Then, as Rank mentioned, all the tight ends there could be stealing some of those goal line targets away from him. So I worry about him, but I still think he's a top 10, top 12 receiver.
Okay, so his value gets dinged a little bit, but what about Chris Godwin, Rank?
You know what? He should be the first wide receiver off the board. And I know it's really not that spicy of a take, because last year Chris Godwin was the wide receiver too. So it's not like I'm like breaking news here or anything. But last year, the difference between him and Mike Thomas was so vast because of the receptions. And last year, Godwin had 86 receptions. He was great. This year, I see him having at least 100, and he could probably get close to 120.
Woo! Okay, so a lot of mouths to feed there in that offense. Here's another question, though, of volume here. DeAndre Hopkins, remember when he was traded to the Cardinals for David Johnson? Yeah, that feels like years ago at this point. Not the best day, though, for Texans fans. Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray, though, he's got to be pumped. He gets arguably one of the best receivers in the game. So, Rank, what does Hopkins do to impact here Kyler Murray and the Cardinals offense?
Well, I know we did the hype train already, and for Kyler Murray, that was already in motion. Everybody was ready to draft Kyler Murray this season. You look at other quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, who had a lot of success during their 2nd season as a starter. That's what everybody was anticipating anyways, before you went out and got one of the best wide receivers on the planet. And I understand he's switching teams. There could be a little bit of a hang-up. No. This guy is so good, it won't matter. So draft Kyler Murray. He's going to end up being the 3rd quarterback taken off the board. And Kenyon Drake is also, like, a lot of people forgot about this because it seemed like it was so long ago. But when they traded him from Miami, he was a very productive running back, and he should be a top 10 fantasy running back this season.
Okay, let's look at the other side of this trade here, Marcus. So the Texans, now they have David Johnson. What is his fantasy value?
Look, I'm back on board with David Johnson. I think he has the potential to be a top 15 running back. With Carlos Hyde gone, that opens up about 250 touches from last season. DJ, even last year, still averaged more than 5 yards every time he touched the football. should see some more targets in that offense as well. I think 1,300 yards, 6 to 8 total touchdowns, not out of the question. And by the way, everybody worried about Deshaun Watson with all these changes. He still has a lot of targets to throw to. Plus, he has that cheat code. He can run with the football, which gets you some of those sneaky yards and some of those sneaky hidden fantasy points.
That is true. Fingers crossed that everybody stays healthy for him, though, in Houston for sure. Fantasy expectations here for Todd Gurley.
I think Todd Gurley can be a top 10 running back this year. He was sort of a big winner in the draft because the Falcons didn't draft another running back. Plus, I expect he'll see more targets in the offense this year than he did with the Rams last season. He just had 49 targets last year, and Devontae Freeman had 70, so I think you'll see him bounce back a little bit.
All right, let's stick with a running back here. Rank, where should you draft Melvin Gordon?
I would take him in the 3rd round. I really do believe the Denver Broncos are going to use him. I know that Phillip Lindsay is there, but when you bring in a running back like Melvin Gordon, you're going to use him. Like if you buy oversized headphones that make you look like Moby or Lobot from Empire Strikes Back, you're going to wear them.
Okay, fair enough. Let's go with another player that switched teams here. Marcus, is Stefon Diggs a #1 fantasy wide receiver?
I think he's just on the outside. I've got him as a top 15 guy, so that makes him sort of a wide receiver 2 in most leagues. I think he'll see a larger target share just because he's going from an offense in Minnesota that wants to be very run-heavy to one that throws it a little bit more. Problem is, Josh Allen, I just need him to be a little bit more accurate when throwing the ball downfield.
Yeah, that is the issue there. All right, Rank, where do you have Emmanuel Sanders ranked among all of your fantasy wide receivers? That's it, yeah.
I really like this fit for him in New Orleans. Now, obviously, Michael Thomas gets 1,000 targets a year, or so it seems. I have Emmanuel Sanders right around the 11th round. I think that he can be somebody that can have some big weeks for you. I think that, his production is going to be volatile because he's going to be touchdown dependent, but still think he can be a good receiver for you.